Good morning. Welcome to the America First Warehouse podcast. How are you guys? I am Teresa Helfrich, and with me I have good friends Tom Weirman to my left and Steve Levy to my right over here. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to get right to it. But before we do, I am going to stand up real quick and show you my shirt because this is the shot heard around the world with Donald Trump, and I want to
Selling
give
like hotcakes.
They are. So I want to give a shout out to the America First Ultra Mega Store. They are selling like hotcakes over there. The phone's been ringing off the hook since Saturday. Everyone wants to, honor Trump with this heroic, epic moment. So if you guys want a shirt with this picture, you can have it customized. You can go to www.theamericafirstultramagastore.company.site or call 631-484-8141.
I think that's going to replace the mugshot
I think it is.
as the number one.
They already
Well,
said
that night, that picture started getting shared around, and immediately when you looked at that picture, you said, "This is like one of the most iconic pictures in the history of our nation." Incredible.
And you were with me here, Tom. We had an event here on Saturday night. We will touch upon that at some point. We had the Mordecai Mission Summit, which we worked very hard and had many Zoom calls and planning for. And God had his own plan because in the middle of the event, we got the notification that Trump was shot. At the moment, we didn't know what that meant. So I don't know. My heart sank. We stopped the event. We prayed for President Trump. Then we started seeing the pictures and all the, everything that was coming out about it. And it was just, we were in the middle of an event. So it was kind of hard to just absorb it all. But when I got...
I do a lot of writing on bias in the media. In fact, I wrote a book called Bias in the Media over a decade ago. And it was so interesting because I get clips of all the major newspapers in New York State on a daily basis. And to see the juxtaposition of the cover page of the Daily News, which is anti-Trump, and the New York Post, which is pro-Trump, guess which picture goes with which newspaper, right? The Daily News had Trump slumping as though he was on his way to a death. And of course, the Post had the defiant picture of the ex-president with his fist in the air, pumping it up.
Awesome.
And boy, it tells everything.
It does. It's polarizing, right?
Perspective of the editors and how they want the public to perceive events. But there's no doubt, Peggy Noonan herself, a long-time conservative columnist, former Reagan speechwriter, I think it was for the Wall Street Journal, said, like Trump or not, this was gangster, man.
It was gangster. Savage, legend.
Epic.
The last time we had a moment like this that I recall was when the towers came down, and a few days later, George W. Bush stood on that pile and said, "They're going to hear from all of us soon." I mean, the amount of patriotic, feelings that you had just rushing through your body was incredible at that moment. And I don't care if you hate Trump. So, I mean, listen, there are plenty of haters of Trump, and they actually wish that the guy didn't miss, which is so disgusting to me. But if you're just an American citizen and you saw that your ex-president, who was just trying to give a speech at a rally, gets shot in the head. He literally got shot in the head. It took his ear, but thank God it didn't get his head, his brain. But he gets up there and then starts saying, "Fight, fight, fight," while the Secret Service is trying to drag him back down the stairs. I mean, just the adrenaline rush that you get as an American citizen. And the people in the crowd at that rally were equally as fired up, even though bullets were flying by their heads. I mean, that was some moment.
When a true leader stands up with that kind of resolve and that kind of tenacity in the face of being shot at. I mean, generals and military men, I think, are the only ones who can normally do something like that. I watched it over and over again, and it was like, to your point, like, where were you on, September 11th of 2001? Same thing. I know where we were. Where were you on Saturday night? Like, you'll remember that for the rest of your life, right?
I certainly will. And you juxtapose once again that reaction, the defiance, like, I've been knocked down, but I got back up, to Joe Biden's feebleness.
I mean, so Joe Biden can't even ride a bike or stand on stage.
Falling down constantly, not being able to go up the stairs. Now, I don't think that in and of itself is a criteria for voting for president, but certainly when there's cognitive decline, there is. But just the perception that not only the American public gets, but people around the world and other world leaders get, this is one guy who's leading us now who doesn't know how to tie his shoes versus another guy who's a tough SOB.
right.
I
And I
tell you
want to
what-
say this. Oh, go ahead. No, no.
Yes, so I'm having a conversation with my wife and kids this morning, and we often talk about how, way before the shooting, how Trump is made of something different. I mean, while the man was running for office in 2015, he gets elected while he's in office for those 4 years, constantly under attack, impeachments, investigations, fake investigations, things made up about him. Even
What was
after
it?
his
It was
presidency,
Russian collusion, Steele dossier, impeachment 1, impeachment 2, FBI raid, felony charges.
Bogus lawsuits.
Now the shot.
nonstop. And this guy is, when they call him the Teflon,
Teflon Don.
when they call him the Teflon
And anointed.
Don, it's legitimate. So he's taking all these different shots, and then because they fail in every metaphoric shot, they take a real shot at him, and he still gets up.
It's right.
And he's still going fight, fight, fight. I mean, this guy is
Epic.
made up of something different. I don't care if you hate his guts. He is an
And
incredible human
that
being.
really brings me to what I wanted to say before is, listen, I know it's a sin to hate, and I'm not going to say hate. I loathe Joe Biden, and I don't want him to be president, but I would not be okay with someone shooting at him. And I don't understand. And then you have people out there celebrating it. It's really scary. And when Trump says, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, I'm just in the way. I mean, that was perfect example on Saturday of that.
I wrote an article for Newsmax. I'm an insider columnist for Newsmax. Probably, in the middle of Trump's tenure. And I called it the Valkyrie effect. Valkyrie was the plot to assassinate Hitler. And, when you label your opposition as Hitler, it gives you license, or at least you feel you have license, to do just about anything. Standards that journalists had used for centuries went out the window. We don't have to follow these fair standards anymore. We need to stop the next Hitler, so we do whatever we have to do. Standards such as protecting attorney-client privilege, which stood since the beginning of America, thrown out the window because you have to stop Hitler. And I had said, they will do anything short of assassination, is what I said in my...
Short of?
No, I don't think this was a plot by the left to assassinate the president.
Oh,
we
see,
don't
I
know
do.
the motive.
I
We
do
don't
think
know
that.
the motive. But it's scary when you continue to label your opposition as a Hitler.
Absolutely.
It enables FBI agents to go in front of a FISA court and lie.
That's right.
It enables senators to just outright lie. I've got evidence of collusion when it's factual, just not true. And it enables a media to take sides in such a ridiculous way that it's patently obvious to the rest of us, and they just totally blow their credibility. But that's what the Valkyrie effect is all about, and it just crescendoed last week.
Now, Steve, when you talk about this effect, and we have to say there's an absolute hypocrisy, right? So and Matt Walsh wrote about this on Twitter quite a bit. He made a few tweets about this. If the people who are calling him Hitler, and they repeated this over and over and over again, if they're now saying we can't have political violence, well then, if we knew that Hitler was coming up again, the actual Hitler, and we could foretell, what he was going to do, kill 12 million people, taking Hitler out would actually be a justifiable cause. However, these people have been calling Trump Hitler for a really long time, and now they have the audacity to say we should not have political violence. They should stand behind what they're saying instead of running, because if they actually believe that. But the thing is, they don't actually believe that. It's political nonsense. It's meant to manipulate the minds of those who are listening. They're the radical elements of their base. But unfortunately, it radicalized some people. Now,
I do think blood is on their hands, though. They've been inciting this, and they showed a clip of repeated pundits and people in the media calling him out to be killed over and over again for the past couple of years. I mean,
I don't remember any mainstream people calling for him to be killed, but
it's out there.
certainly,
I'll try to find it.
The mantra of threat to democracy, existential threat to America. Now, let's understand, this is not some unknown entity. This guy was president for 4 years. I don't remember any liberal commentator, and they bashed his brains in for 4 years and beyond. None of them went to jail. None of them lost their job. In fact, it was Trump who was magnanimous after taking office, said, I could prosecute Hillary Clinton, my opponent, for what she did with this dossier and her server. I'm not going to. We're going to turn a page and move forward. It's the Democrats themselves who are claiming Trump is the threat to democracy, who are employing this lawfare, changing the rules, turning them upside down to go after their political enemy as though we're a banana republic. So why do they talk about this? Because they can't run on their record. They can't talk about inflation. They can't talk about the border. They can't talk about energy prices. They can't talk about peace around the world when the world is on fire under their tenure. So what do they do? They talk about abortion, 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 and Trump is a threat to democracy, and that's their whole campaign.
He's a racist. He's Hitler. He's all these different things that would make the average person who doesn't pay close attention think, oh, wow, we really have to be careful with this guy. But like you said, we have 4 years of evidence of when he was the president, he didn't start any new wars. The Abraham Accords, where he actually brought Arab nations together with Israel to make peace. No other president in recent history even came close to doing anything like that. But this is the guy who's Adolf Hitler. I mean, seriously, but again, people have short memories. People are easily influenced. TikTok, Instagram, all these different social media forms, when they are constantly being pounded into their heads that this guy's a racist, he's Hitler, he's this, that, he's going to stop democracy, he's going to turn this country, he's going to become a dictator. People believe this stuff because they're not, unfortunately, a lot of people are not intelligent enough to think for themselves.
Yeah, and when you can't win on the issues, you have to demonize your opposition. It's what the Democratic Party has been doing with the black community for a generation now in their campaigns against Republicans. How do they continuously go into the black community and say, vote for us because we're with you on the issues? Let's see, you've been, people trapped in poverty for generation under Democratic rule, massive crime within these urban districts, their kids relegated to horrible, violent, failing schools. So they lose on every issue straight up, but how do they win? They say, well, vote for us because the other guys are racist and they're going to put you all back in chains. That's the only thing they can go back to because they can't win on the issues.
Well, that narrative is changing. I mean, we had Blexit here on Saturday night, and I mean, we had some nice conversations. But I'd like to make note, which most of you already know, what didn't happen on Sunday was the MAGA people didn't take it to the streets and burn down buildings and loot and go crazy, which we know if the tables were turned, we would have had complete civil unrest on Sunday. But no, once again, the Patriots step up. There's money being raised for the poor man who died shielding his wife.
Isn't it interesting that right after the 2020 election, like the days before, they were preparing for unrest in the street, but really only if Trump won.
Right, right.
If Trump won, you knew the left was going to burn the place down to hell, right? Biden became the president, and all of a sudden, it's quiet. His people were just chill. But, Republicans weren't torching down buildings because
it's not what we do.
Well, like you said, they were prepared to do these things if Trump won. But when you look at some of our elected officials, like Maxine Waters, calling on people to find people in Trump's cabinet. If you see them eating dinner in a restaurant, you go up to them and you harass them in the restaurant. You saw what happened to Rand Paul outside in the streets of D.C., where he was literally being surrounded. The guy had to fear for his life. I mean, it's okay for them to get their people to intimidate, to even do violence in the streets against specific. I mean, look at the attempted assassination of a Supreme Court Justice, Kavanaugh.
Right.
I mean, these are
Flynn,
things, and they're okay with it.
And we got 30 seconds, fellas. So you want to comment on that?
And Kamala Harris, who may step in for Biden, remember that she was egging on the protesters. No, keep going. Keep burning down those buildings. Keep protesting in the street is fine. But she was egging on the violence and bailing out those who were arrested for perpetrating that violence.
It's really mind-numbing and scary. And it's going to get interesting, guys. We all got to buckle up for the next few months. 3 months left. So you want to make a final comment?
Yeah, Teresa, so when we come back from break, we have to talk about how this happened.
Well, as soon as we come back from break, we're going to bring on David Zier, boots on the ground at the RNC, and then we will go right to that. Stay tuned. We'll go on a commercial. We'll see you guys right back in a minute. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, many of you remember me as Hercules, facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. But today, I'm stepping into a different role. Not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you, ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine, and you've seen that. But it was through divine inspiration that it kind of happened. Sometimes life throws, you get some things and tragedy hits, and all of a sudden you got to rethink and kind of look at things a little differently. But we wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. You go out into the world, the frustration, the tension, and anxiety is pretty brutal, for most. And how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Prayer for sure, but we give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Yeah, right? Wisconsin. Almost had it wrong. Milwaukee. I need more sleep. And see, David, I can't do this. We need you in the seat. Tell us what's going on there. How's it going?
They're here in Milwaukee. It's like Laverne and Shirley, Shamil Shamazel. But this place is electric here, the RNC. What a first day here. Yesterday, I had the chance to speak with Michael Whatley, the Republican National Chairman, Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip, Congressman Andy Ogles from Tennessee. Everybody's here on the ground. And I don't know if you guys watched last night, but that first night of the RNC was just devastating for the Democrats, because he had real Americans, everyday working Americans taking the stage, Hispanics, contractors. The guy from Milwaukee said, my family are contractors, and they never did better than when Donald Trump was president, and now they're struggling in business. And that's the story all over the place. So, and then to get the Democratic Union head, Sean, his last name escapes me right now, but the head of the Teamsters, who's a Democrat, does the closing remarks at the convention. And he said, listen, I'm a Democrat, but my members are supporting Donald Trump. So there's really a sea change going on across America. And listen, Trump comes in with that entrance with the bandage on his ear. Everybody was in tears. It was pretty crazy. Just epic event here on the ground in Milwaukee.
It sounds epic. That's awesome, David. So what's on your agenda? Oh, go ahead, Steve. You asked.
David, I've been following campaigns and presidential elections for eons. I never remember a convention this early. What are your thoughts? There's pros and cons to it. On the one hand, you want to get your message out quickly and set the tone. On the other hand, you're leaving it to the other side to have the last punch as we go toward Labor Day and people are more focused. You think this is more pros than cons going this early?
Okay, Steve, can you repeat that question to me?
Sure. I'm marveling over how early this convention is. Can you hear me, Dave?
Yes, sir.
This is the earliest convention I can recall. They're usually in late August or around Labor Day. There's pros and cons to having a convention this early. you get your message out early, you get your VP, you start traveling around the country. By the same token, it's nice to have the last shot and be remembered and counter the other guy's convention as you're heading toward Labor Day and the election. So what's your thoughts?
Yes. I think it's a good point, because if you peak too early, you can lose some of the momentum. And this gives the Democrats a chance to rethink their whole message, which has been hatred and vitriol. And Trump's a threat to democracy. His court cases have fallen apart. Everything's going wrong for them. The assassination attempt has reinvigorated the right. It's caused unity in the community. The people are hurting at the dinner table, illegal immigration in their community, national security threats. People are worried. So even minorities are coming over. He's polling 20% with the blacks, 41% with the Hispanics. So it's devastating to the Democrats. So this gives them a full month to really reconstruct. I bet you they're going to have a Democratic convention that's going to be red, white, and blue, America, 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 versus what it normally would be, which is I hate America. Right. So, and, yeah, we do run that risk.
And we did talk about, David, how, it's almost like 9/11, like where were you when this happened? So obviously we were together. You were with us here Saturday night. We had to stop our summit because of, the shocking news came in. I know for myself, and I'm sure Tom can attest, I couldn't even absorb it all in here. Like, it was so hard to take on. Like, I guess you'll never forget where you were, right? You were here at the America First Warehouse when that call came in. I know you got right to work at the event, getting on, live TV about it. But over the course of the night, like, did you get emotional? Like, it was so hard to wrap my head around it and really absorb it all until later that evening.
Well, listen, without getting too religious, there was some type of divine inspiration or intervention going on there, because this cop confronted the guy on the roof, and the kid pointed the gun at him, and the cop retreated for a second. And it gave the kid time to get down in a prone position and pop off the shots. If that cop didn't intervene, Trump would be dead right now, because he would have had time to set up a shot. And also, Trump turning his head last minute over that slide, which he was making sure it was the right slide in the presentation, which was discussed before the rally, at that exact moment, and turning his head, and then the flag being
an angel
wound up on the wire, looking like an angel. I mean, without getting, we don't want to delve into fiction, but maybe there was some inspiration here, because everything's on the path for Donald Trump. I mean, look at Jack Smith's case in D.C. might go away, as well as the Florida case. And then you got the sentencing in September 18th. Well, they can't put Trump in jail now 40 days before the election. And then, the immunity decision may cause Alvin Bragg to drop the whole thing. Who knows what's going to happen here? So the Democrats have no more options. They're backed into a corner. And I think their only out from this is to be patriotic, which we know they're not.
Amen.
Hey, David, so from my perspective, when we look at what happened that night or that day, and we look at the history, right? So they try to, impeach Trump. They tried to get him out that way. They've had civil lawsuits against him. They've tried to bankrupt him. They've had criminal lawsuits against him, so on and so forth. And as you just said, Jack Smith case gets thrown out. But again, it's a nonstop effort to take him out. And then they literally try to take him out. I mean, it almost seems like we're watching a movie. I mean, that's what it felt like the other night. We hear that Trump gets shot, and the last time a president got shot was Ronald Reagan. I was a little boy. I really didn't fully understand what was going on. But, you see these things in movies. Then we actually see it happen, and we can't believe this is actually going on. But it's something that we have to believe, because it's really happening. They tried to take out the Republican candidate for president of the United States. And right before, and think about the timing of this. This happens right before the convention, where the delegates have got to cast a vote. Now, if they're successful, I mean, the entire convention goes into upheaval. I mean, who becomes the nominee? But what's crazy. I mean, what they intended for bad becomes, this is where divine intervention is possibly real right here. What was intended for bad turns out to be good. We get, and obviously this wasn't planned, but we get a president who gets shot in the head. He gets shot through the ear. He then stands up yelling, "Fight, fight, fight." We see them, one of the most iconic photos in American history. And this is all going to and I hate to look at it from a political standpoint, but this can only benefit President Trump. David, what do you think?
It's not over yet. So who knows what these people have up their sleeve in the deep state and the establishment. He doesn't want Trump to get into office because he's going to clean house in certain agencies. So I'm worried about a black swan event or something a week or two before the election. Now, I wanted to talk for a second because Real America's Voice is on the ground. I've covered about 80 rallies, 120 Trump events around the country. I was not at that rally. I was at the warehouse, and we had Brian Glenn on the ground in Pennsylvania. But we got a lot of ex-military working for RAV, and we got a lot of insights and perspective on what happened that day. Now, it very well may be that this kid reconnoitered the site for a week before. He heard about the rally. He got everything together, and he went to Home Depot that morning, bought a 5-foot ladder, and bought 50 rounds of ammunition that morning of the event, and came. And it's very likely that that area was exposed, and he parked outside of the venue, and he walked across the street, and he didn't get stopped or challenged. He was not going into the Trump entrance, the rally entrance. So it could be that he did act alone, and he went up on the roof. But the problem is that people that I'm talking to and experts on the ground, and I'm talking about the top journalists in the United States, and I can't share your name with you just yet, but also my guys in the field here on my camera crew who are decorated veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan and been under fire, been in combat, understand issues, and work with snipers and tactical teams and everything. And they're saying that this kid had training, which is crazy.
Wow.
So there's a mystery going on a little bit. And that this kid in that position, lying prone on the ground, the way he was, getting into position, is, that they're saying that this kid probably had training. So, I don't want to get conspiratorial because we don't know enough yet, but I think there might be something to that. Listen, every mass shooting in the country just about is a 20-year-old white male. The Buffalo shooting in the supermarket of the 9 and 10 black people that were killed. This kid had apparent military training. He was never in the military, and you got time after time. You got the Aurora movie theater shooting going on way back in Colorado under the Batman, Dark Knight premiere. This kid, he's making IEDs in his apartment. And, he obviously had some military type training. This kid had an improvised explosive device in the trunk of his car that could be set off with a transmitter that he carried on his body. How the hell did he know how to make that?
Right.
So
my 20-year-olds can't take out the garbage.
there are some questions out there, but it's a little premature. But I'm sure, someone will get to the bottom of it to a degree. But like you said, Tom, these events are incredible, and have definitely put Trump in a position. Now, remember, early voting starts in 45, 60 days. It definitely, I don't agree with the early voting because what happens if something happens a week before the election, and guys on video killing somebody or something,
Which is one of the advantages, David, of maybe having an early convention, right? Because the old days, you'd wait till September, late August for the convention. And people, right now, they're already voting, so early. So if you're going to get your message out, maybe there's a good point in getting it out as early as possible. Let me segue real fast. We've got just a few minutes left in this segment. And in our future segment, we're going to get back to this major fail by Secret Service. But I want to talk to you because you were on the floor there at the convention. The J.D. Vance pick, who did you think it was going to be? I know you originally, way back when, thought it was going to be Kristi Noem, but she self-destructed. Did you think it was going to be Vance? And what's the buzz on the floor?
Well, I thought it was going to be J.D. Vance. My personal pick was Ben Carson. I thought it was a great balance for Trump. And J.D. Vance was very critical of Trump in the past, and a former Dem, I believe, and his wife is, so... But I think Trump wins Michigan and Pennsylvania because of J.D. Vance, hillbilly elegy, his life story, Rust Belt type stuff. It's very important. I'm here in Milwaukee, has the 5th highest crime rate in the United States. They got the highest poverty rate in the United States next to Detroit at about 24%. All of these Rust Belt cities are doing poorly. And I think that J.D. Vance helps him solidify those battleground states up here, at least in the Midwest and some of the Northeast areas. So I thought it was a smart choice. But let's see. There's going to be negative op-ed opposition research on J.D. Vance, revealing his former criticism of Trump, and other things I'm told are going to come out. So they have to weather the storm. They have to stay unified. But I will say this: the Republicans here at the convention here are unified. They got all the BS out of the way. And it doesn't look like there's going to be this element that's trying to take out Trump going forward. It's kind of nice to see, and I think that people realize that those tax cuts, Steve, have to stay permanent. If Biden gets in and raises taxes on corporate America and the average American, we're done. We are done.
Hey,
And there's
David,
no
I
coming back
wanted
from
to ask
that.
again back to JD. So we understand the idea of him helping Trump in the Rust Belt, but what about the idea of the vice presidential pick being an insurance policy in light of just the assassination attempt, that if they kill Trump, this is what you're going to have to deal with afterwards? How does J.D. Vance appear to the public, or even just in his actual own policies? Or is he a Trump? Is he Trump, or is he Mike Pence? What is he?
And we got 30 seconds in the
I
segment.
don't think I think he's an independent thinker, and he's a Marine, and I think his story is working class, middle America, and I think Pence is was more of a polished kind of. Came
Do the
across a
people
little
who
fake
might want to take
sometimes.
Trump out, would they look at J.D. Vance as a bigger threat than Trump, or equal to taking down the deep state?
Well, I think that J.D. Vance is, he's really smart and sharp and kind of independent. And I think, his mind is in the right place. So we'll see where that goes.
So real quick, because we only have like 15 seconds, but David, you're going to be boots on the ground there all day. If everyone could, Rav is doing full coverage all day of the.
We're doing full coverage from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. I'm here until Friday. So it's going to be a long week, but we will be bringing the best coverage on the ground here. And I've been giving shouts out to the America First Warehouse, to everybody here. Everybody's talking about the AMAC event. Ben Berquam, I'm with, John Solomon. Everybody's out here. So I'm spreading the word for Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, and all the great stuff we've been doing. I talked to everybody about the pastors.
Thank you, David.
And that we've had. And so we're getting the message out.
We love having you as part of our family, keeping it all together down there. And stay safe, stay cool, keep in touch with us. And I can't wait to hear about the rest of your trip. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
All right, we're going to go
Shoot.
back to commercial break, and we'll be back in a minute, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, many of you remember me as Hercules, facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. But today, I'm stepping into a different role. Not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you, ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine, and you've seen that. But it was through divine inspiration that it kind of happened. Sometimes life throws, you get some things and tragedy hits, and all of a sudden you got to rethink and kind of look at things a little differently. But we wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. You go out into the world, the frustration, the tension, and anxiety is pretty brutal, for most. And how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Prayer for sure, but we give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Welcome back to the America First podcast. We just had David Zier, boots on the ground at the RNC. It was great to hear from our good friend. And Tom had a thought before, but we had to go tune in with David. So I'd love for you to take this lead and give us your thoughts.
Yeah. So, I listen. I don't want to be thinking in conspiratorial terms because this is my country. I want to believe that those in power have our best interests in mind. I don't want to think that they're trying to take out President Trump before he even has a shot at becoming president. But when you look at the facts as to what happened, it's hard to say this can't be a possibility. It's absolutely hard to say. No, look, before I got here today, I was on the phone with a good friend of mine who I grew up with. His dad was a Secret Service agent. He used to jog with George Bush Sr. He was his jogging partner. We got some inside information as to how things are supposed to go down. Now, I don't know if protocol has changed within the Secret Service, but from what I was told, and if you listen to Dan Bongino also, Bongino, everybody knows Dan Bongino.
Bongino's on fire right now about this stuff.
Right. Dan Bongino would say that they wouldn't have a perimeter that was 150 yards, which is where the shot took place. There will be a 1,000-yard perimeter.
That's right.
And also, you would have Secret Service agents going there days beforehand, scouting out everything, going into every building, opening up cabinets, looking for people who might be hiding days in advance. Yet somehow this person is able to climb up the outside of a building where other people were, and those people shouldn't have been there either, but they're yelling at Secret Service, hey, we got somebody with a rifle climbing up on a roof to get a higher point, a better shot, and things are not happening. And then you could see the counter snipers who have the guy in their sights. It wasn't like we watched them move the weapons over to the point of the shots.
3 minutes.
3
For
minutes. They had their eyes on the guy.
And these guys operate in milliseconds. So, like, every second is, like, crucial. It's not 3 minutes doesn't sound like a lot to us, but to a sniper, milliseconds are what count.
Right. And right after the kid took the shots, he was eliminated within another second or two. So we can't sit here and say that they didn't know there was a person on the roof with a rifle pointed at the president. In addition, being that they were watching him, okay, let's just say, now some people are saying that they were waiting for rules of engagement. From what I understand in the world of Secret Service, if somebody's pointing a weapon at the asset, you take them out, you do not wait.
I vote for that.
In addition, if, like Teresa, you said, whether it was 3 minutes or 45 seconds or whatever it may be, if there is a person pointing a high-powered rifle at the person speaking, at the asset, why was the Secret Service not tackling Trump at that moment? Why are they waiting? So, you know, like I said, I don't want to believe that there's a conspiracy, but we've been watching a conspiracy come out in front of us for years, since he came down the elevator, since they were tapping his phones, since they were bringing him to court, since they were impeaching him, and now they actually took the shot. So is it really that hard for us to believe that President Trump was targeted not by just a 20-year-old who was able to scale a building and just take a clean shot at the guy? Or was it possibly a deep state
operation? It was a deep state operation, for sure.
I don't believe that this was a DC operation. I don't have proof of that right now. However, if you told me back in 2015, 2016, that FBI and Department of Justice higher-ups would have been orchestrating a coup against Donald Trump, I would have told you you're crazy, and they did.
Well, Steve,
there was an actual coup attempt with Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. That was a coup. They said, we have an insurance policy, we're going to take him out. I don't transport that into present day, but I will say this. If you were going to orchestrate some kind of a conspiracy, this is the way you would do it, to allow.
Well, they've been doing it. I mean, the deep state orchestrated a global pandemic.
What is the first thing you
vaccines
do
that murder people?
As a security apparatus, what's the first thing you do? You secure rooftops. It's class 101 in security. The incompetence here.
But Bongino is telling people, and he was Secret Service. He's been out there like, I don't watch him as much, but Angie does. Shout out to Angie. Every day he's basically out there saying that the head of the Secret Service is corrupt. He knows that firsthand.
Well, I'll tell you,
I believe
the idea that you see videos of people on the ground saying, there's a guy up there with a gun, and there's no communication with a walkie-talkie, which I understand they can't cross-communicate, the local police.
No, they're not. They're afraid they'll get infiltrated. Yeah.
Who did that guy who did the cop notify when he sees a guy with a gun on top. And what did they do about it, and how long did it take?
See,
as,
I want
as
to
you
say
said,
this.
Tom, the first thing you do is, even if you don't shoot the guy, you get your subject down
Well,
on
that's
the
what
ground.
I'm saying. I'm sorry, and I don't know who this cop is. And I don't talk bad about cops, especially publicly. A good cop would have ran and got the perp. Like that. That's just, you would have stepped. I mean, I would have wanted to
This
step
is
into
Uvalde
action.
all over again.
The cop should have been running to him and, I don't even know, defying the orders to not communicate on, call on a cell phone. I mean, at that point, you're in such a heightened situation. It's like they like ran around like chickens. They didn't even come do their job. I don't know. Like, I feel like the cops I know here would have ran. I watched the cops on 9/11. Maybe New York cops were built differently. I don't know. But it just blew my mind that they were just kind of running around each other while there's a killer. They didn't know at the time, but a killer on the roof.
And you know what? Listen, and we're focusing on President Trump, which we absolutely shouldn't. We're so thankful that his life was spared, but not everybody's life was spared.
No.
That fire chief, Chris, I don't remember
right.
his last name.
Capitor?
This man, he heard the shots ring out. He covered his family. This is a hero.
A real hero.
This is a hero, and his daughter wrote a beautiful, parting words about her dad, and thank God the man was a believer. He was a Christian, and we know where he is. But we have to think about, it wasn't just that Trump didn't die. Somebody died. Other people were
Absolutely.
shot as well in the crowd, and this was allowed to happen. Somebody has to take responsibility. If it's not the head of the Secret Service, then it's got to be whoever was the head of the advanced team going in, or whoever it might be. Somebody's got to take responsibility for this.
Let me segue on something else, and it's DEI, okay? I don't have any problem that the head of Secret Service is a woman. I care if that person is competent or not. But you know what really struck me, and I said it, I'm watching it with my wife as we're looking at this.
The small girls.
Yes! You hit it on the head. I'm saying,
the guy's
I'm talking to my
6'3".
wife, I'm saying, you see that guy who's 6'6"? That's the freaking guy I want shielding me.
Absolutely.
And you got a woman there who's 5'2".
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm a female, and I don't think
the
that's.
President of the United States, and I'm saying, I don't care if it's a man or a woman. You're 5'2".
Right.
If you got Brittany Grenier, a 6'6" woman, that's fine with me. But who made this crazy decision?
The
that you're
corrupt-
going
the
to
corrupt
arm-
Secret
you're going
Service
to protect
leader.
the leader of the free world with a Secret Service agent who doesn't reach his chin. And thank God that shooter was disabled at that point, because if there was another shot, it was going right over her head into the
crowd.
president's
That's right.
head. And that's DEI, folks. I'm sorry. That is a DEI hire, or at least a DEI placement, because the people on top wanted the rest of the world to look and see, look how many women we have protecting. I mean, aren't we cool and virtuous? I don't care if she was a woman.
I'm
I
a
care that she
female, and
was
I don't even want women
5'3".
doing it. I don't think they have the same strength as men.
But somebody
Sorry.
said, when you obsess over DEI, people DIE.
That's absolutely right, Steve.
That's
I mean,
right.
when you think about like what you're saying there, how can a person who's 5'2" be expected to protect a person who's 6'3"? They were putting their hands up to try to just deflect. Listen, now I'm very happy. They were courageous women, without question.
Yeah, no
They
problem with
jumped
them.
on the president. They did whatever they could. But when you give them the responsibility to take care of the president and they can't physically do it, how can you allow this to happen? Now, if you notice, when you walked into the RNC convention last night,
All men.
all men who
tall
were like
men.
6'5"
I
That's
don't care if
right.
they're
above.
men. I care that they're tall enough and
I
big
want them to
enough
have the
block.
physical agility, just like in sports, to be able to protect the leader of the free world. And I'm a female. I don't even want a female
Well, I
president.
think there
so
are some
maybe I'm
females
the
who
wrong
can,
person to
but it
ask.
has to be that female. It can't just be, let's put a female in just for the sake of evening out the numbers
yeah.
that we have,
Well,
and she's
right.
5'3".
You know, but this is a great opportunity during the RNC convention to point out the failures of DEI. You have an example
That's right.
there where the president of the United States, if the kid got another shot off, he could have been dead. He absolutely could have been dead because they don't have people tall enough to protect him. You know, they need to highlight all
Listen,
of this.
this detail was by design. And again, I am not an RFK fan at all. But I feel like each one of these three men, these candidates, deserve very good, hardcore protection right now, especially in the aftermath of what happened. They should have had it all along. I mean, poor RFK, from a humanitarian standpoint, I'm not a fan. His father and his uncle were both killed by the deep state. I mean, if that's not like a political move too, to not give this man the proper detail is absolutely insane.
And guess what got him the detail now? Because now he got
Now
it.
we did.
Yeah,
it
but
took,
why?
It took an
'Cause President
assassination
Trump-
attempt for him to get
President
one.
Trump said that RFK
deserves-
needs to
and he's
have this
been
detail.
saying
No,
it.
listen, and he should have,
He's
right?
been saying it.
But guess who wouldn't allow them to have the detail?
Oh, the Biden administration.
That's
right?
exactly right.
That's right.
And remember, you had
Hey,
some
Kennedy.
Democratic Congress people saying, defund Trump's Secret Service. And the joke of it is Benny Thompson. But there were the argument from the administration is, oh, it's too much money. This is the administration.
You know what?
that
You know they could,
bulked out
they could
debt
borrow
over
some money from
$35
Zelensky
trillion.
maybe and protect our own candidates.
They're handing out EBT cards to illegal aliens, putting them in hotels for $400 a night, but they don't have enough money to protect candidates for the presidency.
We have
I
a
don't know if we're
$4
gonna make
trillion a year budget, Steve. A $4 trillion a year budget. You have Secret Service agents in every major city in the country. Surely you could transfer some of them when there's no major asset they have to protect to bring them to protect the
Well, how
the
about
person
they
running
took the
for-
U.S. Air Marshal? I'm nervous to death. My daughter's going to be traveling back from California in a few days. There's no more U.S. Air Marshals on the planes. Do we know why? You know why, right? Do you know why there's no more U.S. Air Marshals on the plane?
Discriminatory?
No. They took them off about a year ago and gave them a special project. I don't know what they call it in the government to track anybody. And you guys can go fact check me in and around the area on January 6th.
Right,
So
right,
not even
right.
our airplanes have secret air
Air
marshals,
Marshals.
marshals on them. So go get the U.S. Air Marshals and
They're
make them
tracking
Secret
down the
Service.
grandma who was roaming
Correct.
through the halls. Right.
So I mean,
yeah.
like, use them. I mean, this is insane. And we
Well,
have,
you know who the U.S. Marshals are now? We are. We have
Right.
to be the U.S. Marshals
That's right.
on the airplanes
Well, we have
now.
to be everything now. We have to be in the grassroots level now. And I'm gonna get a little serious right now because I've been really emotional the last few days, good and bad. It's gonna be a long few months here. It is now time. I am so sick of this. We've been saying it. I've been screaming from the rooftops for 4 years, at rallies, in this building, all over the place, on social media, losing family and friends over it. I'm going to tell you all right now. I don't care what friends and family I lose. The only people I need in life is my children and the man up there. And at this point, I don't know what it's going to take. If Saturday didn't take it to that level for you, there has to be lines drawn in the sand now. It's your time now and duty to come to this side and become patriotic and love your country, because there will be no country. There will be no country left. I don't know. You could find a friend who escaped communism, because I have many. Many come to this building. Come here. You could be a raging Democrat. You want to come here? I'll have a conversation with you in this building with a lot of like-minded people. Go find your communist friends who escaped communism. Talk to them. They're going to tell you the writing's on the wall. We are following the blueprint of every other communist country. I don't know what else people want. And on top of that, Black Swan event, like David mentioned, absolutely. We haven't had a terrorist attack yet. We have very well-known terrorists in this country. If you guys think for 1 second they're not going to try to do something between now and November, it is time to have head on a swivel. There is no more time left. This is it. That was the shot heard around the world that they've been talking about, and take it as a God moment. Maybe that shot needed to wake people up fully, but I don't know how else to say it anymore. This is it.
Yeah, Teresa, I think you're making a really great point. You know, we saw an act of violence against the former president of the United States. We haven't had a major terrorist attack in this country in many, many years, yet we know that over 15 million people have come across the border unchecked. We don't know who they are, although we do know that terrorists have come across, Chinese nationals have come across, people from Arab nations have come across. You know, from what I understand, the people from Arab nations are not typically looking to pick the corn in the fields these days in the agriculture market. So I think what you're saying is very important. We have to be very vigilant. We have to be prepared, and it's just sad that it's come to this point, Steve.
And the first thing we have to do is elect leaders who will stop leading us toward a path of national suicide. The first thing you do when you're trying to protect your nation is don't hurt your nation from inside. We know we have enemies outside of our nation who want to do us harm. But as often been said, sometimes the bigger threats are those within our nation. Not only those we've let in who we don't know what their background is, but the policies of those who are leading our nation, people who hate our nation.
Foreign and domestic.
Who preach that our nation is a horrible, racist, awful place to be. And that's the biggest problem because it destroys the foundation of the
That's
nation
right.
itself and tears us apart into this red and blue dichotomy that we have today.
That's right.
Steve,
Well,
nobody
Phil-
believes that our nation will be attacked from the outside and anybody will overwhelm us. We can be overwhelmed from the inside, though, without doubt.
All right, fellas in the control room, I'm going to go for like 2 more seconds. I just want to give a quick rundown to our audience. This week, we are open every night for the RNC convention here. It's a watch party at the warehouse. We're open from 6 to 9. We had it yesterday. We'll be here tonight, tomorrow night, and Thursday night. We have rallies coming up. We have a TAP in 2 weeks. We have a caravan coming from New Jersey visiting the warehouse on the 29th. Board of 911 next month. Please check the website at www.theamericafirstwarehouse.com. Check our social media platforms. Steve, you want to see where they can find you real quick?
Yeah, they can get me at stevelevy.info.
Excellent. Tom, they can find you on
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook,
Facebook,
Instagram,
social media.
yeah.
Or here at the warehouse.
Twitter, yeah,
He's with
or
us
here
a
at the
lot here. You can
warehouse,
always
yeah,
come
I'm-
here.
I'm all
So,
over the place. Yeah.
thank you, fellas, today. Thank you, David. If you tune in again and watch this, thank you for joining us.
Teresa, if I could just say one last thing.
Go ahead, close
guys,
us out.
There's things that we can be very vigilant about. We can watch for dangers and all this type of things. But what we need to do more than anything is we need to pray to God. We need God in this country. We've left Him out for so long. We're seeing the consequences of it, but we can get Him back. Just give your heart to Him. Pray. Thanks.
Open that Bible. Get discernment, guys. God bless you all. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.